I would like to call the April 10th, 2025 Council on Aging regular meeting to order. If you are able, please rise and join me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
May I have the roll call, please?
Chair Craig. Vice Chair Bodine.
Present.
Sadler.
Here.
Geller. Modig.
Here.
Winston. Here. And Hill. You have a form.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Did go, I approve.
I'll second.
Are there any revisions to the agenda? No revisions. Are there any objections to approving the agenda as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is scheduled public comments. We have none. Public comment. Staying none. Approval of the minutes for the March 13th regular meeting.
There was just a little typo on the time on the minutes. They had it 4:57.
Say again, please.
We met at 2:57.
No, sorry.
Jim.
Yes.
So the 4:57 was the session. We meant to do something as the work session.
Oh,
So there are two different time periods.
call the meeting to order at
4:57.
Oh, what's
It was 4:57.
Yeah, we had a.
Oh, we did it all in
Work
the
session.
and I forgot about that.
So you still have a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes. She was bringing up the title of the denies, so you still need a motion and a second
Okay.
for the March 13th minutes.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the March 13th.
I move that we approve the March minutes.
Is there a second? Second. Any revisions? Objections? Hearing no objections. Next. Unfinished business? I have none. New business. Discussions and recommendation of committee's appointments for work goals.
The only thing I would say to that, chair, or vice chair, and then is that in your packet, you'll see that I put a memo into the city council to that talked about, we had a work sessions, we had 2 work sessions to draft our work plan. And that on March 13th, you finalized your work plan. I submitted it with the memo to city council and they approved it on April 2nd. The only thing, and I know we had talked about not having a meeting this month, but we have not designated who's working on what on the work plan. So that's why I got us all together again so we could do that. And so you have three items, 3 objectives. So that would just need to clarify who's going to be working on what.
Further report, discussion? Robert, you have anything?
I was just wondering how we were going to proceed with assigning, are we going to start with number one or reviewing all three first?
Yeah, I think this involves, people to work on the, and probably whoever's assigned to it probably should be all of them, so there's not a million thought.
Or there could be, you could work on more than one.
Sure. Sure, yeah, get them all done. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Suggest you might want to take a lead, someone take a lead on 1, 2, and 3. You know,
That would be good to have a leader for each one.
I was volunteer.
I'll work with you on that. That's all right?
Great.
All right.
and that's for number 2.
So this one, this Red can interject if you have a different thought. But this one is probably going to be done as a group because it will be putting Red with, I'll be in there sometime. So Red putting together this emergency plan that we're working on, and then she'll bring it to you as a group. So it would probably fall under, we'll just have it as a presentation and then it'll be a work session and you guys can do that. So I'm not sure it would warrant having a leader for that.
Yeah, this is probably whoever chairs the meetings.
Well, should be the one, I would imagine should be the one doing the
Sure.
presenting, a presentation.
Okay. Great.
I would definitely want to be on that.
Well, you can.
Working on it. And I was doing a little research on what we need to be, what we need to use as resources. And one is the National Council on Aging already has a database of helping aging wellness programs. So that, I think that would be our first step. So we have a lot of resources already and data that's been collected from different agencies that has gone through the NCO. Is it the National Council? NCOA. Yeah. So I could use like probably more than one person to work with me.
Yeah, I'll work on that one.
Oh, great. Anybody else?
So does that, does all this have a responsibility on F1? Anybody have our committees?
That's a really easy. Yeah, I think so.
I guess you remember what are in the agenda. Okay, item number 2, discussion. KPHI presentation for council from 4/2/25.
So, Henry has already seen this. Councilmember Napstead has already seen this KPHI presentation that they did to council.
Yep.
And so the city clerk emailed me. I have not seen it. And she emailed me and said she thought that you folks would be really interested in seeing this. And so I put it on the agenda today. I knew we would just have a short meeting. And so here we go.
Before you do that, but there was something I saw on the list there. I brought some additional show and tell that you can't see on there.
Do you want me to make copies of that? Or just,
Yeah, maybe it's a little unclear probably, but this is their, I'll explain it now, then if you want to, but it's this is their plan, and I just made some scratch notes while I was there. I mean, they're clearing a lot here. This was for me. I pulled it out of my packet, and then these other two, they've already constructed, but what they're doing is they're wanting some additional properties to the north. And this is Redoubt Avenue. Is everybody familiar where the site is generally?
What is KPHI?
Kenai Peninsula Housing Initiatives.
This is kind of an area where we've had others.
Yep,
No.
same spot where we did the tour, Jim. All that. How to Redoubt. Halfway down Redoubt, would you say? Or third way?
On the right. If
Depends
you're,
which way you're going.
Your apartment building too?
Yeah,
Yeah, they've done a very nice job.
yeah, if you go in from the landfill side, it'll be on the left.
Yes.
On the right side.
You stuck up by the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean. That's all good.
You ready? This
Sure.
part? I'm gonna listen into it. You can figure out. What is it?
And you're continuing to outreach at that change. I can provide one additional update as well. The contract laboratory in Anchorage that we work with, SGS Laboratories, offered a 15% in.
That's the watershed farm.
Yes.
That's the one we always do. That's the one we always do.
So. Okay, thank you very much again, and we appreciate your time.
Next up, we have under item C2, schedule and scheduled public comments. We have request for land donation, Kenai Peninsula Housing Initiatives and Core Finance Director Dana Gregora. I said it right? Gregora?
Great water.
Sounds French.
We would like to thank you guys for the opportunity to present to you guys this evening and take the opportunity to thank you guys for your commitment to serving the community. Particularly our senior citizens through prior donations of land we've received from the city of Kenai. And also thank you for the consideration of the ordinance being a lay down item tonight in order to expedite this process for our grant timeframes. So I'm going to start just by giving a little bit of information about who KPHI is for anybody that doesn't know, and what we've done so far, what we're doing next, and then what we're hoping to get your help to do. So we're a nonprofit housing developer. We develop rental housing across the Kenai Peninsula for low-income persons, families, senior citizens, and supportive housing for mentally disabled adults. We have properties that are in Homer, Ninilchik, Kenai, Soldotna, and Seward. Our mission is to provide the low-income, very low-income, senior special needs residents of the Kenai Peninsula area the opportunity to take a more active role in their lives and communities by providing a variety of affordable housing options. Let's turn it off. All right, we've been developing for 20 years. We have 31 separate rental properties across the peninsula, plus our Homer office and community center. There are 155 units of housing across those 31 properties, and they are all currently, those are all the ones that are currently complete and rented up, occupied with people. We are currently into the development stage of 4 additional properties that will add an additional 26 units of housing to that portfolio. One of those properties is in Homer and nearing completion. The other 3 are the ones we are breaking ground on in Kenai on land that's already been donated to us. This is just some pictures of properties we have around the peninsula. These ones are all in Homer. These are here in Soldotna. These are a variety of our supportive housing properties in both Homer and Soldotna. Senior housing complex in Soldotna. This is Ninilchik and Seward properties. And then this is the first property that we developed in Kenai and Readout. This is Clear Point Apartments. It has 10 units of low-income housing that comprise of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units. This is on lot 2 of the tract of land that we have already donated to us. The other development is Kenai Meadows Senior Housing. That's on lot 1. That's 2 buildings that have total of 12 units of senior housing that are 1 and 2-bedroom units. The additional land that we still have that we haven't developed on yet, lots 3 and 4, that's already been donated to us. What we're breaking ground on any day now, that's what's next here, what you're looking at of lot 4. Here is what we're breaking ground on. That is 12 units of senior housing and 8 units of low-income housing. Lot 3 is what we'll be donating or developing next, but this is already all land that we have already been donated by you guys. So the ask comes in where we're looking for additional land, and this has been being donated off of this large tract of land that you have, that there's some 68 acres left. So the section here in yellow is where we're looking to get the additional land donation from, along the back side of our existing properties there. With the right of way included, that tract of land comes out to a 5.09 acres according to my architects. So that is what we're looking at getting donated to us. What we plan to do, or what we'll be able to do with the land donation, looks like this. The existing buildings are already on this map in the lower 2 left-hand corners of lots 1 and 2. What we are getting ready to build this year is right here, but that entire 5 acres in the back is all what we can do with this land donation. That will bring the total up to 54 units of senior housing and 54 units of low-income multifamily housing for this entire 10-acre parcel. Depending on how fast we can get funding and being able to open up new funding sources like the one mentioned for the timely, like the reason why we're trying to get this done a little quicker is a new funding source. So the more funding sources we find, the more units we can develop each year. So we are looking forward to the opportunity to apply for this Federal Home Loan Bank grant that is a source of funding we haven't utilized in the past. That can really help us get more units built each year. So that is where the critical timing comes in for having this considered over 2 meetings instead of 3. The additional funding source will increase our rate of lots that we can develop each year, and the additional 42 and 44 units of each senior and low-income housing. That will bring, as I said, the community impact for the entire 10 acres to 54 units of senior housing and 54 units of multifamily housing. So we ask that the city take prompt action. Oh, I guess I should talk about this first. The importance of land donations, is we are a smaller developer comparatively to other people utilizing these grant sources in the state. And so in order for us to remain competitive in this really limited and competitive funding source, we have only found success through coming out with donated land. So the land donation that we get from the city of Kenai and other cities across the state have been a really critical part of how we've been successful in achieving these grant awards and developments in the past. So we're able to leverage additional funding. We're able to stay competitive. It's able to get us to meet our needs of other communities, meet our mission, and help the city achieve your needs for senior housing and affordable housing as well. And it helps the KPHI achieve our mission or support our mission. So we're asking the city to take prompt action and consider this ordinance presented for additional land donation. This request is crucial for meeting the needs of our residents, and the timing is critical for securing our necessary grant funding. The support of this ordinance, you can help ensure that our community has access to essential resources and opportunities for growth. We'd like to work together to enhance the quality of life for all residents, and your support is, I really had something nice to say there that's covered up. Hold on. Oops. Sorry. Let's turn it over here. Your support is vital in making this vision a reality, and thank you for considering our land donation request. And then if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those. I'm going to pop back to this map for you guys to look at. more. I think it maybe went out in the agenda packet too. Okay, yeah.
Any questions? Mr.
Um,
Robin?
just. How does the market price for these units get established? And how does that affect other property owners that might own multiple unit dwellings in the area? How does it compete with non-donated land developers for pricing for them?
So our funding source has primarily been from the Alaska Housing Goal Program, and by requirement of that funding source, we utilize the HUD rent limits that are established. And so depending on what actual pockets of money we get from the Goal Program, it requires the units to be restricted to persons who earn 30 or 50 or 60% of the area median income. And then we utilize the rent amount that is set by HUD to establish our rents. So it's not us setting them, but they're typically, they're set to be affordable rental amounts, but I don't think that there's a direct impact to any other landowners who are property managers. I don't think it's taking anything away from them because there is a housing shortage. I was going to mention we have 62 per people on our wait list for Kenai currently. So the number of people on our wait list and in this area alone that need housing there's no shortage of that. So our restricted rents and affordable housing, I don't think is detracting from your for-profit developers that haven't developed onto donated lands. If that answers your question.
These are individuals that are going through state assistance basically.
Some do. People have to be income certified in order to qualify to live in the units that have that restriction tied to them. It all sends back to where we got funding from, which part of the Gold Program we've gotten funding from. So they go through an income certification process by our staff to ensure that they qualify, and then their rent is the rent for a 1 or 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom unit of the same income restriction is the same for everybody. It's not income based. They just have to meet an income requirement. But we do have a large number of tenants who receive like the Alaska Housing Choice Voucher Program, which then the state program is subsidizing their rent and paying a portion based on their income of their households. But not everybody has that, and it's not a requirement to utilize that to get our housing.
And just one real quick, also, so with your program, you obtain grants to build the housing. What does the rent cost go to support?
Other than grant, we get grant funding for every project, but we also take out our own term mortgages, term debt to bridge the funding gap on that. We always have debt on all of them. So the rents are covering utilities, insurance, operations, debt, mortgage, our staff, in-house maintenance workers, all of those things.
Councilmember Summer?
I think most of my questions were just answered because of Councilmember Dobbin. Because in my mind, I was trying to create a paper trail for the rent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, the people that go into these units, you said you interviewed them to make sure that to see what level of income they qualify for. So they get a level that they qualify for it, but then the Alaska Housing Voucher System or HUD picks up the rest, possibly. And then all of that money then comes back to the nonprofit, which gets used to pay off your debt, utilities, staff, and things like that.
That is accurate, but I'll clarify a little bit. Let's just use the example that a 2-bedroom unit in Kenai, the rent for that is $800 at a 50%, the 50% rent is $800. And we've certified that person makes at or below 50% of area median income. So they qualify to live there. The rent is $800 there. Whether that's coming from them or a portion of that gets paid for with their housing choice voucher, the total is still $800. And it doesn't matter if a person moves into that unit that gets assistance or not, the rent amount is set, and those rent limits are set by HUD. The total amount that we charge for rent. Thank you. It is complicated, so I'm sorry if I'm not explaining this very.
Councilor Daniel.
Thank you, Mary. Well, yeah, I think you're explaining beautifully. Thank you.
Okay.
Just a follow-up question on what's been asked. So you get people in the units, which is awesome, and I fully support that. It's great. What happens if they make more? Is there like a requalification, or is it their?
Brandy's can talk about this a little bit better. This is our executive director, Brandy. She does more with the income certifications and tenant sides than I do.
Hello. So if the goal of the program is to never make anyone homeless. However, these projects are intended for a specific population. And if somebody's income increases over 80% of area median income, we are required to charge the lesser of 30% of their adjusted monthly income or market rent. It's typically market rent, and we get comparables of what's available on the market. And we keep comparables for a long time. If we see anything that's available through Facebook or Craigslist or various sources, we have files for comparables so we can get an accurate picture of what comparable market rent would be. So we basically rent them out, and that's how the project was designed, and that's HUD regulation.
Just a little bit extra about that. They have to be income certified to move in, and then everybody is income certified annually. And what she's saying is that if they go over income, they don't have to move, but their rent is not going to be capped at those affordable limits anymore. They go up to a market rate rent based on the area. Right, so.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Further questions, comments? Vice Mayor Nixon?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Whitewater, thank you for coming and talking to us. And I was trying to think of how to, like, we could pedal faster because we could use more buildings and expand more. We've got an aging population here, and I do know through our senior center, we have the housing there. We have a 2-year waiting just to get into that. And then you just said what you had, and that's only going to increase. Because how the population is, I guess it's a comment and kind of lead into, more senior housing is, something this city can use. I mean, the lower income too, it didn't sound like senior housing was necessarily low income senior housing, because I think there was an and in between.
For these developments, and depending on the funding that we get, we do have some of our senior units that are restricted to low income seniors. And the definition that we use for senior citizens for our purposes is 55 and older. We choose to use the lower, I think the other option is what, 65? 62. We utilize 55 and over for the definition of our senior housing, but we do have some units in the senior housing developments that are set aside for low income seniors. And that just is driven by the funding sources that we get. But again, that highlights why we're looking forward to getting into this new funding source that we haven't utilized in the past. That the application period is open from April 1st to May 1st. So if we can, from April 1st to April 30th. So if we are able to secure extra land, then we can apply for more funding and then hopefully be able to build more. In the past, we've been able to typically get awarded with 2 projects from HFC, which has been like 2 6-plexes a year typically, but we're looking at being able to trying to find more sources so that we can scale this up faster, get more units built at once to meet the needs. But it also has some economic advantage of being able to have our developer or our contractors build more units at once. There's just kind of like an economy of scale feature that we're realizing the benefits of by being able to do more units at once. But yes, there's no shortage of the housing need in Kenai and across the whole state where we serve. So.
Thank you, and I just, we can use more, and you have, our working relationship has been good. Look forward to doing more.
Thank you.
This and then whatever the next thing might be.
Yeah, great. Thank you guys.
Ms. Marcus, Senator.
I have no other questions. I just wanted to thank you both for your time and explaining this in more detail and bringing this information. So thanks and great work.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say as well, Echo, thank you for your time, Dan and Brandy, for showing up here and giving us an overview and answering our questions. This is something I do support. I hear about it every so often that we do have a need for low income and senior housing in our community. And I like the idea of this more of a public-private partnership, more than just, public. I think you guys are better suited to help tailor this to the need than we are, and but we can help assist you and do that. So just forward with that.
Yeah, we really appreciate it and appreciate you guys' time, but also do want to highlight too, we really appreciate the administration's time that they've been giving to us recently with meeting with us and talking through all the different options and everything. So, Terry and Brandon and Lee and everybody, everybody's been really great and helpful on the administration side, helping us talk through options on, from zoning and planning and rezoning things and lots that are available. So we really appreciate that as well. For you guys.
Thank you. That concludes our scheduled public comment. And that brings us to item D, unscheduled public comment. Is there anybody from the general public that like?
Say, an awful lot, don't we?
Good. So that was the staff report.
No, that wasn't my director's.
No.
That was.
Next.
We don't have any questions.
Oh.
No, can you have
Oh.
questions on that?
Sure.
This was a big shot.
Was the property, was there?
My chief said staff, and I said that concludes it. Now commission discussion.
We wanted to ask some questions.
Yes.
We'd like to ask Henry a question.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's more fun when I don't have this. We just agree with it.
It's really helpful, but also you're following it. It's hard to sometimes
Well,
flow.
toilet training demands I go by the way.
The clerk's not watching right now.
I don't care.
Was the, their request considered, or is it being scheduled for consideration?
It is. What happened was, it has to go in a form of an ordinance, which takes 2 meetings, introduction and whatnot. And what we did is we did it out of order. Normally it's advertised first, but we introduced it as an ordinance at that meeting. So our meeting next Wednesday, we'll discuss it then. And presumably we'll approve it. If you guys wanted to come, that would be good. And so if you're in support of that. But based on what I'm hearing from council, they're going to be in support, but I think that it's always good to hear from the public and I try to do my best as far as senior housing and the needs here, and what you've been saying about having more, presumably more like here, but if it happens other places, that might be the best you can do for. I think council would like to hear about that.
What I hear is city donates the land. They don't get anything.
Mhm.
The end result is this organization ends up owning the property. Is that right? The end result.
In the end, if they don't perform, build the buildings.
Right.
They don't.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
But yeah, they build them, they do. Then it becomes a full donation.
Okay. Versus this organization here, which is the city of Kenai.
Right.
They donate land. It's self-sustaining and the city owns the property at the end, whenever, all the time. So that's a basic difference, right?
Basically, and it's someplace else.
And what?
And it's over there, not.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, the difference is the city has ends up with the total property that's built on there and it's self-sustaining.
Kind of. That's the intent. Kathy could probably-
This isn't self-sustaining, is it?
Kathy, you know the numbers probably better than anybody over here. The intent is that it be self-sustaining.
Yeah.
But I think the rent has always fallen behind, for the upkeep and maintenance and everything else.
So far, the city doesn't subsidize.
As a subsidized over here. Okay, I stand corrected.
And it does, any extra rents, anything left over from rents after all the bills are paid, goes into that, fund that, the, enterprise fund. And that's what pays for the renovations. That's what pays for capital improvement projects out of that. That boiler project was almost 300,000, so over 300,000, so it took, wiped out a chunk of that, and then rents will build that back up again. Can I add something to what I heard them say in there? What I like about what we do here is we hire an outside consultant every 5 years. We had a little trouble this year finding one, but we hire an outside consultant and we pay a good price to do that every 5 years. And an independent person does the market rates. So it's not dealing with HUD's figures. It's not dealing with anything. It is dealing on a professional level with what the mean population on the Kenai Peninsula is paying for market rates. And those are set on that. I so believe that there is a need for this. There are many seniors on a fixed income that there is so, that's why they have 60 some on their waiting list. We have 132 on our waiting list for middle to upper income senior living, and which is based strictly on market rate. And not everybody, what will happen now this year, once we at the end of April, we'll get the market study back. And then we have anybody new moving in after July 1 will automatically pay market. The people who are in it now, say market rate comes back to $150 a month more than they're paying now, then the council gives them, it was $35 to $50 a month increase every year until that apartment was paying up to market rate. So it wasn't, blowing, we're not asking the senior an extra $150, $200 a month to come up with that. So there are some differences. There are some differences. And I think there's room for both. I think there's a need for both, definitely need for both. Any one of our apartment buildings that is, whether it's HUD, which is like Woodbridge Apartments, is a HUD building, whether it's Alaska Housing Voucher Program, which any private apartment, if we accepted that, we could have those here too. We used to many, many years ago. So they all have waiting lists. Even Alaska Housing has a waiting list to get in the voucher program.
Does the city have any low income housing?
No, that the city owns. The city, not to my knowledge. This is the only,
It's unusual too.
it is unusual. Chugach, Anchorage, the Muni owns apartment buildings in Anchorage and
Generally speaking.
Fairbanks and, bigger cities. And Soldotna Senior Center has its own housing. So it is not out of the norm as much as it used to be.
So there was a couple of things that they said that I didn't really like. One is their low rate, it's 55. So they're counting 55 to 62 as a senior. So that's taking away those senior housing from real seniors. Right, lowering it then. And then the other thing is if they are no longer, so you can move in and be income eligible and then the next month not be income eligible anymore and never have to move out. And so then it's taking low income housing out of the market then also. So I'm not really sure I like a lot of what they said. And there was one thing that I just heard, which I thought was kind of weird, but I think it might really apply well here, is one of the things, the new loans that are starting to make housing more affordable for people is the city's maintaining the ownership of the land and the building is the only thing that's owned by them individual. So is that something that the city can maintain the ownership without just giving away to a company that's going to be obviously making money?
So it'd be a lease, we'd be leasing the property.
versus,
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird to me that they're keep asking for more land of the city's land to just give us land so we can build these low income housing, but then if people are no longer low income, we're gonna get the rents and stuff. You know,
I think the donation portion had a lot to do with their ability to be able to get the grants,
Yeah.
loans, and whatnot, otherwise they wouldn't.
you can tell I worked for public assistance before. I do not trust anyone.
That's good, and actually, the question you had about the 55 and older, I guess it didn't really occur to me to ask that
That's
way. I
that
thought, okay,
whole-
well, so some places that is, but again, it's possible. That's not something that they chose. I'd almost bet a cookie that it probably is established by the money that they're getting with those agents are. And I'm just telling you what I think. I don't know that.
It's hard.
Yeah, yeah.
So look at tree houses. And it was works within housing, but it's 55. But the funding comes from the city donate land to tree house all those years ago.
I don't know.
Yeah, it might be state.
I think that's probably, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's like you said, the housing out there was very close to the parties.
So I just,
So we're just talking here.
okay, so Gina, I definitely see your point. I see that we used to be 62 next door and we dropped it to meet the guidelines of our seniors. We didn't have to. It was just once we went through the homesteaders and the people who had made the city of Kenai and had a place, we dropped it back down to 60. But one thing, like I said, I think there's room for both. I think, I still think those are social security checks coming into our banks, coming into our area. Mails going out of our post office, they're paying they're supporting tax dollars and sales tax in our communities. So it is, Kenai, you would know, because I'm all these years of working for public assistance, Kenai does have more low income because it is close to public assistance and it's more of a housing community. And so it does, I think that, saying Kenai can be the retirement capital of Alaska, I think that'd be great, actually. But it's going to, we're going to see low income as well as upper income. I when they first started giving land to KPH out. Okay, not a lot. 7 years. So that brings people into our community, it brings people in to utilize our services all over the city and tax dollars in restaurants. And so I think there's some positive things. I think it is.
There's just one company. I mean, I'm looking at all the places they've already owned and I'm like, and they want more? Would it be better for the city to build another senior housing place themselves? Than to support a company?
Yeah.
It's funding, funding is the issue. And they get Alaska Housing, they get HUD, and it's because they have low income and that age. And so it is, if. And these are grants that would not be had, the city would not be had.
Not currently. I mean, I think the feasibility study would probably spell some of that out, but I think it's probably dangerous at this point to do a feasibility study. It's early. And so, and now that who knows what the landscape will be in 2 years. And don't get me wrong, I would love nothing more to see 40 more units over there. And I think that would be fantastic, but it's going to take a lot of money to do. And then how do you not have to charge your tenants $2,000 to $3,000 a month to live there?
too.
So at this point, it really is not feasible for the city. Provide for developing.
I think that maybe this is a good discussion to have this center. I mean, I'm not sure if it's really what our city government should be doing.
Yeah.
Too. You know, just that's a, you know,
He's looking at the locker door. The discussion was, should the city of Kenai support a commercial entity or situation that competes with taxpayers of the city who are paying into the city to support something that competes with their business? If that sounds a little egalitarian, but we can't support something $3 a month where the guy is barely getting $7 a month for it, he has to pay tax to support this competition. Now, if that's sociologically, if that's the valid discussion to have nowadays, I don't know, but that's what it was back in the day.
So I'm hearing what you're saying is that the idea was the city would not compete with local.
For something like this, but what we can do is we can assist society by having land that just sat there all the time I've been there that is ready to be developed. And what it does, it provides housing for the people, for the families that live here and don't either choose not to or don't have the opportunity to work in the oil field with the high dollar jobs. Okay, or have some super skill such as computer science, or they have a high dollar technician job that they want to live here and work at Walmart or any other place. And that's where their income falls in, and that's where they can live and be happy and raise their family in Alaska. I think that's the balance.
There's so the social security.
They have that opportunity too. Is this for low income people also that we had the discussion on?
Right in here,
Right,
it
so
is
it's
for
not-
low income.
Low income, because I'll just relate a story that I thought I saw a couple years ago. The first one was being built and it just finished. As paying by. This is something really neat. For the young family standing up there and looking at the rest, smiling. And I drove by slow and they walk slow. If that is a good commitment to society on the part of the city to provide a place for a young family to live in a safe, secure environment in Alaska, that's the big song. And this land has just been laid out for all this time and has not, and it's something. Well, I'm just, the question has been laying fallow. My statement is something we need.
obviously, I agree, you know, and I like somebody else taking risk. And they're putting it in an area that they're doing it. And it in a lot of ways, it only helps because it just provides more housing. So there might be more opportunities for other housing. And actually, once that gets started getting developed, there's possibilities. There's lots of property around that to be developed. I think that's part of what that 100-acre parcel, something like that.
Lots of great land.
And I would assume that if other companies chose to compete, do the same thing, that they would certainly have the opportunity to approach city government and for people, getting land housing.
The only question I have, and I'm thinking not from the senior center director standpoint, but as a constituent. And I'm asking this to you, if I can do that, is that, so this is a nonprofit. KPHI is a nonprofit, so they don't pay property tax on their buildings. Do they? Or if it makes money, do they pay property tax? Do they pay property tax to the city of Kenai for them? Are those buildings taxed for property tax? They're still getting, street, still getting water, sewer. I mean, they're paying for utilities, but so is it, what if a not a nonprofit, what if a for-profit company came and asked the city for property? And said, we're gonna build a 4-unit building here, and it is gonna be, a for-profit could do it, for the, or they would be paying property tax. And so that would be, there's a lot of buildings there. Aurora Vista, when Mayor Williams sold all those properties, Aurora Vista, I don't know if it was a nonprofit that bought them, or a land management company that bought them, but I'm pretty sure they pay property tax.
I mean, and that's true, and I think that's exactly how that works, but nobody's paying property tax on that property right now.
It's owned by the city.
Exactly, so, I'm happy to have all the services, and everything that is going out, the people are coming in here and buying. They're doing. It just helps our bottom line.
Helps our schools. We don't have any schools on the closure list in Kenai. I think there's possibility.
Kansas City of Kenai is really blessed to be not small like Savannah is, they're bursting at the seams, so we start at mile 3 or something like that, and it goes out to mile 15. I don't know. It's just a huge area. We've got lots of available property that's in the city, and the city owns a lot of it as well. So there's lots of room to develop. And I kind of like the idea also of having some additional development going that way. I don't know. Probably you've been here for a while. About where the city center is, nobody seems to be worried about that exactly anymore, but the fact is that it kind of really was one. I realized, Jim, we're getting up, it was kind of moving toward the high school, I guess, and all of that, and, but with some of this other development.
We got our TV from the military base.
Yeah, I'm okay with the center kind of floating around about where the center kind of is, it could be the middle, but it's not, by site 17.
I wonder if the city could make a counter offer to these people and say, well, instead of us donating the land, well, that could be taxable land, we'll have to charge them, come to some kind of agreement, well, they'll either pay an annual amount of money or some kind of, that would really be leasing, or would they be willing to take it on the lease?
Yeah, that would be
The land on lease?
Might impact the source of their funding. The source of their
Because
funding.
it's a nonprofit,
The source of their funding.
Yeah.
Probably say that.
there's no way you could.
Land has to be fee simple, so the source of the funding is putting in money for the building they have. So to use this land, Michael.
So the main thing is they're like pushing it through this last parcel, and they don't have the other 2 built yet. So I guess anytime I feel like someone's like, we have to make a decision right now, it's a good time to say no. Because then it's like,
I thought they got that they said that they're breaking ground.
well, they're on one,
They're on 2.
so.
2 of them are developed in the.
Yeah, so they're starting the motion and that for another.
Have they identified?
No, they have 2 that they own.
Potential source of funding for the third one, or whatever it is. And that's why they're asking for it now, because they're looking at a particular grant to
Well,
fund that.
I thought what she said is we've already donated lot 3 and 4 to them. They want an extra 6,500.
Well, they.
5 acres.
This is readout down here. They're built on these 2 lots. They
Right.
cleared this one, and that one's underway.
Right.
What they're looking for are these lots here.
So what was 3 and 4? She said 3.
I don't.
That they built on 1 and 2. They're
1 and 2.
have 3 and 4, and they want an extra.
They
5
want-
acres.
These are the ones they want. This, they showed, she had kind of a strip of.
About 5 acres.
Yeah, 5.02 acres. But the thing is we're not just, we won't be donating the property to them free and clear. that doesn't happen. The contract is basically, yeah, it's yours if you build on it and you have so much time to do so. And if you don't, then it comes back right back to the city. So they have to develop it. So we're not risking the property if they can't perform.
And you have to donate it before they can get their fund.
That's correct. And it's in the contract. That's what the donation is.
What do you mean to match?
It's
Department.
yeah.
We've had seniors. We have seniors that we meals to seniors that participate in our program here at the senior center who live in those apartments, both of those properties. Pardon me? Yeah. Yes. They have garages. Yeah. Those are the issue.
Any other comments? That was a good discussion. I liked it. I like it. Just take off my hat with this. That's a good way to have a meeting. We're coming now to record stop. Good. That's something we can be straight here. Senior director? Yeah.
So March for Meals, what a wonderful success. It was a great evening. All of you, most all of you were there. Two, maybe not, but it was, no, you guys were there. And it was a great success. Looking like, matter of fact, yesterday, I popped in and had been helping Mom for a couple of days, and I popped in and we had lunch, the choir sang, and Senior Connection, Bill will just set the mail on my desk and sometimes he won't open it. And so I opened it and I went out to Howard Hill and I said, did you happen to go by Mattress Ranch talking to them about a donation? He goes, yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. And I said, we just got a check for $5,000 from Mattress Ranch.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yes, it was chills. The smile on his face, it just made his day, didn't it? And he said, wow, I went way over my goal this year.
And a goal of $6,000.
Yes, and he went way over it. And so it was really wonderful. I'll be taking a look at their mattresses coming. So,
They probably should be on the preferred bid list. Right?
yes, so we're looking, I think, we're looking at upwards of 65, and which is fantastic. It's just absolutely fantastic. So couldn't be happier. We need to put it to bed, and that takes a bit, not quite as long as putting it out, but it takes a bit. We'll be working on that over the next 2 weeks. So heard from Kayla last night. Kayla is at an activity conference this week and down in Dallas. And so I just texted her because I knew the conference was over last night. And I said, so how was the conference? Oh, she was so excited. She texted, I said, just a read of her with a couple of, they had a big banquet last night. And she said, I had so many ideas and thank you for sending me. And she said, and she's going after her certification coming up here in, by the end of June, she'll be certified as a national activity professional. And so I said, well, I'm glad you liked it because it's in the budget for next year for you to go again. It's kind of fun to get new, refreshing things. So went through the budget with the city manager and the finance director. And we're looking, the state grant is, I do not have hope that it is going to be increased this year. I do not have hope of that. So I'm wishful thinking, but we'll see it. It's been a tight year for us. And with that state grant, with no ARPA funds, no COVID funds, and still about the same amount of meals. And so our staff has done remarkable, really remarkable. And we're all looking at sales and shopping and, probably doing what we should be doing all along and trying to do, but it does take extra time. But I just got a call before we went in from Marty Pepper with Keller Williams Realty, used to be Readout Realty, and they are going to, Keller Williams has a red letter day. Their agents wear red shirts and they come in
And so they're gonna come in around, I think, Thursday, May 8th. And we're gonna go to work. So I think we'll have a senior work day to get ready for spring and then have a little bit of a spring cleaning, and that's kind of exciting. So health and fitness is coming up next month. We're talking about having a prom at some point, and I think anything else? We got our survey is out, and we will have that survey in the newsletter in May and June as well. And we have had really great, we get it quite a bit more when we leave it out for longer periods of time. We've already had a lot turned in already, so it's been very positive. But anyway, I think that's my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Where did that survey go to? How did it get distributed?
It got distributed in person and it's been distributed by mail and distributed in the newsletter. But that's not the hard part. The distribution isn't the hard part. It's getting people to return them and return them.
Oh, yeah.
Other comments?
Yes, a work session.
What is the average percentage that you get back?
Probably
Under
about 25%.
Under 50, yeah.
And we send out hundreds of them. So
Okay, well, it's my turn. All right, well, unaccustomed to public speaking, I would say. We're just reflecting on the past year. I think we had a very lively and active year. And it was excellent. Liaison here 2 years in a row, 1 year. It's back for another year. The revenues are in place. Situation changed a little bit, but it's always been a challenge to find the funding and then recognize the strings attached to the funding and applying it to the programs that we have here. But I think this is all presaged, if I can use that word, laid out, and the money is applied very efficiently. What I've seen now and then is we have staff, employees that are committed to this place. The committee's always, always well organized. It was clean, people are smiling. Library's well maintained. I have a little bit of library science in my past. I'm looking for the Dewey Decimal System and where the cards are. We're on the honor system here. And yeah, I just so I chaired the meeting one where we set up our 3 precepts for the coming year, and we had a good discussion that day, and individuals who are interested in that. I think that's our primary goal, isn't it? And that's our big job, is to get this, and the rest thing is to give support to this entity, to the staff, because of the funds that we receive. It requires a citizens group to acknowledge and manage what happens. So we have a very positive outlook. And looking forward, again, money's going to be a challenge going forward. Unless the LNG thing gets there, and we'll just bring in wheel baskets and wheelbarrows to us. But that's a ways off if it comes, and we have very, very, very strong challenges. The big thing, and it's always been a challenge here. From my family here in '72, and we had a hard time. I worked from home, I couldn't find a place. I had about half a homestead out in Clan Gulch. There was about 6 of us in the winter, 8 in the summer, and so where to go? So that was okay. We enjoyed it, and even though the kids didn't like feeding the calves, chickens, duck, turkeys. And in the wintertime, they look back on it. I mean, they came out of Chicago, so what do they know? But I had to go back around where we're living, and they talk fondly of it now. So I guess it was better than living over with it. They can get all kinds of shit. But this is a good experience, and I like the idea that Henry's here, and we can spring any question on him. And this doesn't start as a discussion, I'm saying, well, this is what I think you should know. And then tough up and wait for the question, you kick back, okay, you know, what's up? What's up, Doc? So that's a good thing too, so I just hope we can continue on with that and budget. Your purview, but I continue to hear over the years, budget is tight, but we know what our needs are, we know what our wants are. You know, what money is available, and here's how we provide for our program. That's, you know, this, I think it's the best deal in the city. You might say the library is, Henry, but. Anyway, that's my long-winded, wasn't a report, it was just discussion. And Henry, what do you have for us?
Okay, oh, make me sound brief. I like that.
Well, you asked me what time it was, and I told you how to build a watch.
That sounds good. I had to get to the budget, and actually you did too, and actually Bill did too, as far as over here. And one thing I've learned about this place over here, and how we approach the budget and start discussing it is we have, and that's in my list here, on May 3rd, we're gonna have a budget meeting at City Hall. We'll start at 9 o'clock and go throughout the day, probably end at 5. And we'll have each of the directors come in at a prescribed time. That always gets shifted a little bit, but Kathy will be one of them. But anyway, we'll go through the entire budget. Some of it will be the overview from the city manager and all of that, but back to the budget here, and it is confusing still for me because Kathy has the most confusing or complicated budget. May not be the biggest budget, but it's the most complicated of any director. There's this side, that side, there's all the pieces, parts, and all the rules and the exceptions and all of that, and it makes my head swing a little bit. She's got it all straight and written. Well, you pretend well then, but I think you do actually. But
It's a team.
But anyway, my hat's off to that. And anyway, if you put that on your calendar, you're welcome to come or check with Kathy and find out when she's speaking, if that's what you're interested in. And you'll have an idea, but it won't be necessarily that time.
Yeah, just one thing. There was a budget presentation. There was a handout at the city council meeting, and I believe we had a copy, looked at it. And our concerns were well represented and mainly outlined the maintenance and programs that we had. There's a few capital projects scheduled in the future, but because of this bluff erosion, we can't do too much.
Landscaping.
Well, yeah, but our needs and what, 28, I think we went through the projection, your presentation. And I think our concerns as far as maintenance and building were well represented. It's just a reflection again on all this place. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the entryway is going to be worked on this summer, if I'm not, excuse me, mistaken. Seeing water coming through it's not a soffit, but it kind of is. It's just not good. Worries me when it all comes down, but
The engineer in you comes out when you look at that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, there are things happening here. And on my list too is talking about the Keenan Peninsula housing initiatives. We could talk about that some more. And I'm glad I don't know everything that Gina knows because I'm in a really good place. But anyway, just how the system, how it works for me, for the city, and it has worked. It's fine. You know, there's other things to worry about. I'm glad we have people. Let's see, I don't mean it that way. I have people like you that know about those things and worry about them and let us know. But I think the city's well protected. All that. I might have mentioned before there was a bluff erosion meeting scheduled for the 17th. But there's been a count and talked to it. I'm saying that in past tense, the senior center, and that has been postponed. Terry sent out an email today. I talked with him, but the court didn't have their PR person or whatever available for that meeting, and maybe some other folks. And so I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but it's not going to happen on the 17th. You know, so I'm
We don't
disappointed.
want their PR, we want the honest truth.
Well, that's what See, that's what I said, I like that, but, I mean, and that, I mean, the city could have just run the meeting for them and then have them not there, but the Corps of Engineers that runs the
I just had to throw.
No, I want to clarify that it's not like the city couldn't do it, but we don't have control over the contract or anything like that. That's the whole core, what everything's happening, and it would be based on what we think. And not necessarily, that's kind of where the core comes in. We don't want to step in it.
Yeah.
And of course, you all know that we passed your plan for the 2025 work plan, so we just talked about that. Budget work session. We sent a letter of support for the American Tidal Energy Project. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but that company, what they want to do is they want to put turbines in the water out here off of the in Nikiski. And they're trying to get a grant to do that. And those turbines produce electricity. Tidal's going back and forth, and it's pretty close to Bernice Lake Trump substation, so we send power over there. And Mayor Gabriel was more familiar with it, and I asked him a few questions about it. I asked if it was, beluga, seal, and fish friendly, whatever, chop's not quite a good thing. And he said, oh, absolutely, they're kind of designed around all of that. So anyway, so that's.
Bluff. Would it erode the bluff?
No, they're gonna be they'll be in the inlet a ways. They'll be presumably below the water out there, It's not on the East Foreland somewhere. So they're not necessarily gonna happen. They're looking to do it.
Did you say the turbines?
Turbines.
That turbines are so they don't require any energy source.
But just
It's
the moving air, moving water, moving fluid, whatever.
the waters.
Water. So it'd be, capturing that. So
Tidal movement.
Tidal
movement, I know there's talk about doing that in the platform someday when they get,
Is anybody else doing that here in this
to
area?
my knowledge. No, I don't think it's been done at all in Cook Inlet.
I thought there was a program long ago where they studied it. There was on the road going to Anchorage with a little thing where they had Hudson instruments out there. But the theme in theory is that with the movement of the tide, there's water movement 24 hours a day. And so they could go from, Port Graham all the way up to, Australia, I don't know that far, and just have a constant flow of the turbines, the fans, and the water that would develop energy. And at that time, the story I got is that could be done, but it wasn't energy efficient. But I think that what I understand that these folks have a little better engineered scheme, and they would be focused here.
Well, the technology on all of this stuff has gone up a lot. If we're talking about air turbines that you see in the air, they're still not efficient here because it's not blowing right now. It probably, I was blowing a little bit, but we don't have, the tide is very predictable, obviously, and it's going to, so that's going to happen. The solar panels, that whole process has become a lot more efficient and becoming more so.
Is this an experiment that they're doing, or are they planning on using this as a source of electricity generation?
It's for electrical generation, but I'm going to say that since it hasn't been done in Cook Inlet, that makes it a bit of an experiment to me. So we think it's going to work, and this is how it's going to work, and then they're going to implement it, and then like those things, you put them in, and then it works well or better than they thought, and there's going to be more. Right. The cool thing about it is it's not up here, blocking the view or doing any of that. It's going to be, so.
That would be awesome.
And what that really means for all of us with the gas shortage coming and all of that, they burn a lot of gas to make electricity. So if we can use the tide to make the electricity rather than using, gas, then that helps us all.
We have storage capacity now too. We can save that energy. Knowing that tide is in between tides. You got the storage.
Oh yeah, and that's going to happen. You got the holdover on both ends. So
that's a battery system out there by the golf course. And
yeah, that's right. There's a Tesla
battery system out
there. And HEA. Any more questions on that? brought more comments. But I think that's cool because I think it's new technology that's happening here. We signed an airline agreement with Aleutian Airways, and they're gonna be coming, I think, in June. And they're gonna fly 2 times a day, Kenai, and I think they're gonna start, it's just gonna be in the summer months. And they are fairly fly out of Homer, they go all over the state, not just the Aleutians here, Buffalo and all that, I think they're.
How many seats?
I would say about 20.
One's 29, one's a bigger plane.
I'm not sure if they have different sized planes, just the ones I've seen.
But the newspapers.
Okay. Well. Yeah.
That'll help.
Yeah, well, we'll see, we'll have 3 airlines running at it here.
Missed a number of planes because they were full back and forth.
And summertime was kind of.
Yeah, and that's not the summer.
Okay.
It's been full, lot, yeah.
Let's see, last thing I've got is, we accepted, maybe this is, for Kathy to kind of explain it, but we accepted a grant from Alaska Geriatric Exchange Network, the Kenai Senior Center for Legislative Fly-In work, and it's for travel. If you want to, I'm not prepared to explain what that is and what you're using it for.
So, Red actually went to that and she's part of Janet. You want to talk about it?
We're not old enough to go.
In February, I attended the legislative fly-in and met with legislators and others. Let me back up. HNet is all of the senior providers within the state. And once a year, they go to Juneau when legislators come back in February to talk about legislative priorities, always funding increases, increase to transportation. This year, when I went, I applied for a scholarship so that they paid half of my travel costs. So we saved money by this scholarship, and that is what the grant is that he's talking about. It's just a reimbursement for my traveling to Juneau.
Thanks for doing that. Glad you got to go. That's all I've got. See, I've got longer when you did. Chief.
Not that contagious. Well, that's good. Question on the meeting. There was a minute here. There was a was it the resolution talking about amending the policy regarding agenda and packet preparation, distribution, and publication to establish a 20-minute aggregate time. What's up with that?
Well,
I know they tried to go to the borough, and they didn't like it. Assembly, but we're different.
yeah, well, it's something that's always on our consent agenda. It's just something that is administratively done. Anyway, it's just, if everything is in order, it passes, it gets approved, but so it's just gonna, it's not gonna get, the whole application is not gonna be printed out or on our website. It's going to be mentioned. And what I asked for from the clerk was that I'm one of those people that read the back of the paper and all the legal ads, and not all of them, but I scan that. And I look at those things too. And I wanted to know, they're going to bring something to us. First off, if they're not paying their taxes, they're not, everything isn't, then we have a discussion. But if it is, there's really no reason to not approve it. But I want to know what bar or whatever, what if they're doing a transfer, whatever they're doing. And so that information will be still available that it happened. Okay. So that's pretty much it.
There was limiting testimony of people to an aggregate of 20 minutes or something.
Oh, that one. Oh,
yeah.
Well, that portion was it kind of aligns a little bit with our existing code. And it's entities to talk throughout the meeting. I think I'm prepared for that exactly. But it establishes a time limit, so you don't have people coming in and we could go on forever, which is public testimony all night long, which isn't always bad, by the way, but it does establish that threshold of 30 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever that is. 3 minutes apiece, and then there's gonna be a break, and then, the next 3 minutes, and then what happens often is people repeat, but there's more testimony to come. Now, what we can do is, on those rare occasions when we're going to be exceeding that time, we just suspend the rolls and go on. So it's a rule that we have, so we can establish that. But then that's a parameter, and then we can extend it as needed. And we definitely want to hear public testimony if there's,
Yeah.
depending on what,
As the meeting flows, there's a time for testimony regarding the legislation at hand.
Mhm.
If you have a room full of people, I've seen the, maybe not the time limit thing for individual, but allowing people to speak. And if they can speak in the venue, feel that they have their say so, we don't get our houses burned down in the middle of the night.
And like you said, it's good for determine the parameter. Basically, it establishes, okay, we're going to stop it at this point. And that's actually something we can publish there, 20 minutes, whatever. And, but we can, like I said, extend it. So otherwise, we wouldn't have any reason. But when we want to, which always sounds like a.
Yeah, we got a
Gotta
hot
have a
day,
roll.
we got a hot day, we're gonna cut this meeting short.
Okay, sorry, Jim, I didn't go through the two, that was, but this covered most everything, I think.
Well, I know, but I read a lot of their remarks.
Well, I expect all of you to. So,
Yeah. No, those were the questions, and the rest of it just looked up online. So we're gonna see. Yeah, questions. Just one more, just the vote thing, that would really have to come together with the office. But it's gonna start in the same.
see, I don't have control of the contract, so I'm gonna say yes, because I have no control over that, but the date report has for a start date is May 16th. And what that actually means, I'm not 100%, does that mean that's when the barges leave Seattle? Is that part of the project, or is that when they're leaving, the Shinnegan Islands coming here with the rock? But that's the start date.
Yeah.
And they're trying to work around the Beluga time.
Okay. Good. Anything else?
No.
All right, additional public comment? Eighth, anyone planning to be here?
I will.
I won't be here.
I already stated that it would be.
I could do a virtual meeting.
So if I can comment, that was the reason that I had the meeting today, is because I knew many of you would be gone in May, and so we will not plan, if it's okay, we won't plan to meet in May.
Okay, good. All right. Well, let's switch it up. Any, commissioner comments, questions? But that's okay, that's a good thing. What once? Going
We're
twice.
just thinking about our work groups. I won't be able to take it up with you to start discussing our plan. Because I leave in a couple of days, next Wednesday. So we'll start working on goal number 3, maybe in May. We'll figure out how to get out.
After the meeting and give your dates and stuff.
So, yeah, so maybe late, sometime in May.
My thought is we have at least through the summer to work on this, so it's.
Towards the end, right, or even the beginning of June.
Yeah, it's only, you got chairs and tables here. So
We have until the end of like November.
really, anything else? Someone behind me here? No, nobody's behind me? All right.
Move to adjourn.
Then, see no further business before this body. We are adjourned. Jeff.
Here's the water treatment plant.
What?
I know the way